Senator Hawley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thanks to the witnesses for being here. Mr. Schiller, I want to start with you and talk a little bit about permitting reform for mining critical minerals. But before I get to that, I just want to say thank you to you and to the rail workers that you represent for their work in transporting much of this nation's critical energy supply. And I just want to reiterate that I think that the deal, so-called, that the rail workers were forced to accept at the hand of this Congress last year, where they were not given one additional sick day, one that they were requesting, is frankly outrageous. That's why I voted against it. I would have amended it to include the sick days that the rail workers were looking for. And I think, frankly, the idea that the rail workers of this country, who risk their safety in many cases day in and day out, and certainly put their health on the line to provide for their families and do so much for our energy sector, couldn't have one additional sick day, while probably half of the federal government still isn't showing up to work because they're afraid they might get sick, is just frankly outrageous. So thank you for your advocacy on their behalf. Let me ask you about mining and critical minerals here in the United States. You're the president of a trade association that represents labor unions. Can you give us just a thumbnail sketch, and I apologize if you've already been asked this, but can you give us a thumbnail sketch of some of the protections that domestic workers here in the United States get for mining projects? So talk to us about the labor protections that we have in this country to help keep them safe.
Well, as you know, the mining industry is one of the most union-dense industries. We have safety protections because of the fact that it is highly unionized, and we've been able to negotiate over time very strong protections in their union contracts. So
let's talk about where much of the world's critical mineral supply comes from if it's outside of the United States, and that's Chinese mines in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And I bet you're aware of the labor conditions there in the Democratic Republic of Congo. For instance, it's been recently reported that about 40,000 children are working in the mines in the Southern Democratic Republic of Congo. A recent NPR article called those labor conditions modern-day slavery. Would you agree with me that our labor protections in this country are a heck of a lot better? They may not be perfect, but they're a heck of a lot better than labor protections in the Democratic Republic of Congo, if they exist at all.
Yes, and that's why we need a more robust domestic supply chain.
You have made my point for me. That is, I couldn't agree with you more. And this is why I have to say I don't understand this administration's decision to sign an agreement just last month to fund critical mining projects in the Congo, while at the same time they are denying permits for domestic mining here in this country. And I had the chance to talk with the Secretary of the Interior about this just the other day. In that connection, can I just ask you, for your personal opinion, do you think that we have too many good-paying union jobs in this country? Too many good-paying blue-collar jobs?
I think that's rhetorical, right?
I would hope so. I would hope so, but
we never have enough too many good union-paying jobs.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm asking because when I raise this issue, specifically as it relates to opening up more mines in this country with our protections, creating more good-paying jobs in this country. The Secretary of the Interior told me last month that she pointed out to me that, well, there's 1.9 jobs for every American in the country, so there's a lot of jobs, and right now, you know, we've got basically too many jobs. I just think that that's outrageous. I just think that's totally outrageous. We need more good-paying jobs in this country, which is why we need realistic, serious permitting reform that will make those jobs available, secure our critical supply chains, and get our workers back to work. Thank you for the work you're doing in that respect. In my few remaining minutes here, seconds rather, Chairman, already, I've hardly been on this committee, and already I have a bad reputation with the chairman. Yes, all right. I'm going to try to stay within my bounds. Mr. Graham, let me just ask you about the Grain Belt Express. Are you familiar with this transmission project called the Grain Belt Express?
Yeah.
A company called Invariant, as you know then, has been trying to build, it's a wind energy transmission project, runs across my state, Missouri, Kansas, and Illinois. It has been subject to multiple steps of approval process in the state of Missouri, and I'm sure in the neighboring states, but I'm more familiar with Missouri. These are state-level agencies. My question to you is, do you think that states ought to have the authority in transmission projects like this to review and grant approval? or not?
So now, I'm not going to get you in trouble by answering your question, right, Mr. Chairman? So absolutely, the states have a role and have to have a role. But that role has to be guided with the same kind of deliberate national interest that we've been talking about. When Congress passed EPAC 2005 and said that there were transmission interests that were in the national interest, it recognized that we are one nation, that electricity moves very quickly, covers far distances, and we have to be able to bring that larger vision so that we actually protect ourselves as a nation and as a community. So I think it is not a yes or no. It is not an either or. The current system is not working to protect the state of Missouri or the state of Texas or the state of Vermont because we're balkanized. The answer is not federalization. We've proposed a number of specific reforms that we think can find the right way to balance those two things so that we actually have an electric grid that does protect our population, keeps the lights on, keeps businesses humming, and provides clean power.
I would agree with you that the answer is not federalization, and I will just say that I think it's vital that we allow state agencies that are responsive to farmers and ranchers in the state to be able to review and have a say in this process and not just be ramrodded by, and railroaded, if you like, by
I
some.
bet we could come up with a set of criteria that would make us all feel pretty good.
I hope so. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator.